the difference. It is 19 hours 30 all across Guyana. It is time to enter room 592 with Dr. Yog Mahadeo alongside his co-host, senior journalist of Kaichur News, Mr. Leonard Gildarie, who has promised to distribute his salary this month throughout the management and staff of Kaichur Radio, including the operators. But in the meantime, good evening, gentlemen.
Before my host gets into this,
Leonard, let me be
I
the
think you guys are
adjudicator
setting me
here.
up now, man. I
Let
don't
me be
like
the
this at all. All
adjudicator.
right,
Josh,
please
the
adjudicate.
entire nation heard at 1:30 that you and Kevin are going, and the management, especially management, Leonard, I like the management part
Yes.
of Kaitor News and Kaitor Radio is going to allocate its salary to the cause of COVID-19 and elections watch. COVID-19 watch and elections watch. Leonard and I will decide what we do with it. Whether we're going to fund another party, Leonard, or what.
I think they underestimate our relationship, and that if they're gonna try to betray us like this, we're gonna be ready for them. So I think they
Exactly.
underestimate it.
So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to room 592, where we unleash the truth. As we say, we have borrowed the phrase from O'Reilly, this is the no spin zone. Here, we deal with the truth. We unleash the truth, we dissect the truth, and here we are bothered about the lies. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to room 592. Tonight, as we know, is probably the eve of the declaration, eve of the swearing in, hopefully, of a new president. But we have to be mindful of all that is happening. We have to be mindful of everything that is going on in this country. And tonight we want to talk about all of that. Ladies and gentlemen, as we bring to you room 592, thank you for joining us from wherever you are, all across Guyana, in the Caribbean, and our brothers and sisters in the United States, Canada, UK, and elsewhere. Once again, welcome to this discussion program. Tonight, we want to discuss what's next. And joining us tonight are three of the persons that we have seen hot on the campaign trail. Three of the persons we have seen who have captured a lot of hopes, imagination, and, in terms of their argument that they have put forward, they have certainly shown Guyanese that we can all stand up and speak out. And these three persons would have come from their various new political parties, and we have asked them to join us tonight to discuss what's next. Not just what's next for elections 2020, but maybe we can peer into their own plans, what's next for them, what do they see as their own future, how does election 2020 affect them, and of course, we would love to gather their thoughts and their conclusions on what's next and what they think will happen tomorrow and the next day. Ladies and gentlemen, before I bring on our guests and ask them for their comments, I want to just tell you all that we are expected to be joined by Mr. Sase Gunraj, who is going to give us a brief snapshot, a brief update as to what is happening, where we are as of today. As you know, Commissioner Sase Gunraj is extremely busy as they're preparing for D-Day. However, he has kindly consented to come in for just a few minutes to share his thoughts and views with us. Let me welcome, therefore, Mr. Rhonda-Ann Lamb, Dr. Josh Kanhai, and our brother Delon Anthony Moffett to this discussion program. And before I ask them to say something, ladies and gentlemen, I want to say this to you. To all across Guyana, the newer parties did not, by and large, capture the amount of votes that they thought they would have captured. But, ladies and gentlemen, notwithstanding having not attracted the votes they wanted, They stuck by our sides. They stood with us, the people of Guyana. They had no incentives. There was no need. They lost the elections and there was no need to continue. But march on they did. For 35 odd days, these men and women of the new parties, they stood together with the people of Guyana to ensure that that recount would be done properly and that it would be a process that they could stand up for and stand up by. So, on that note, Leonard, we are very proud and we must say to Rhonda, to Josh, Delon, Guyana is proud of you and your colleagues for all the work you have done. Notwithstanding, we didn't show you the appreciation in the ballot boxes, but today, publicly, loudly and clearly, we are telling you how much we appreciate your efforts. Lady and gentlemen, welcome to room 592.
Thank you, sir.
Rhonda, your mic is muted.
I think she's
You're
here.
muted.
Yes.
Yeah. So, Delon, welcome to this program. You're now on, Rhonda. Thank you.
Yes, thank you for having us, and good night, Guyana. Good night to you, Dr. Mahadeo. Good night to you, Mr. Gildarie, and to Delon and Josh. Good night as well.
Good
We're on
night.
first
Thank
name
you.
basis
Hey,
with
good night,
Delon and
everyone, and
Josh these
thanks
days.
for having me as well.
Thank you. So, ladies and gentlemen, I just want to reiterate something because it is important we understand this. Politicians, by and large, not all of them, certainly not the ones in room 592 tonight, but politicians, by and large, they do things for power. They do things for a desire to serve. They do things maybe for some incentive or the other. But the newer parties, they did these past 35 days, Leonard, for absolutely no incentive other than their love for Guyana. Isn't this a fantastic day in Guyana to be proud of such accomplishments, Leonard?
Well, I'm not sure. Some of them, including, I think Rhonda would tell you that she's come under a lot of flack. I think Delon over the last couple of days too. But it is remarkable. I think even today we were talking about it. Some very good stories emerging from elections 2020, Yog. We will be telling these stories as the dust settles around elections 2020, and it will settle. But we would have seen some youngsters. We're building capacity not only politically, but even within our parliament. I would be very interested to see a couple of the faces that we've seen tonight appear in parliament. I would love to hear the debates that is going to come from the hallowed chambers there. But I know that it has not been an easy walk. I would have been following Ms. Lam very carefully. Of course, Josh and Delon too, they would have been through the ringer, out on the fields, paying attention to the containers there at Kingston. So it has not been an easy road. I think 107, 108 days now, almost. That has not been an easy time away from the family. So, of course, Guyana is paying attention, and we know that whatever it is that you would walk away with it from, I would have heard what you would have said. Many friendships formed at the ocean, at the Artichon Convention Center there. So there are many experiences here, but I think for all, Guyana would have benefited from your presence here in elections 2020 for all Guyana. Thank you. I'm not sure. Are we still on? Yes.
Yes, we are on.
Yes.
Yes, we're on. Sorry about that. Josh Kanhai, I want to come to you first, sir. I want to ask you, what have you done today, sir? What did you do today? Did you go back to work? What did you do today, Josh? It seems.
Good night.
Good night.
Well, I've been working every day. I have 2 jobs as of for the past 35 days. Today, it was much more easy. Today, I took a bit of a breather. I went to work. It was so calm. I just felt like I was walking on the clouds.
We seem to have lost Dr. Josh.
Very overwhelmed.
Uh-huh.
We have come together and we have banded together, and we've shown that unity is what this nation needs as of right now. And we have shown that when we can come together as young people in this fight is what we're going to be pushing. And once we push and we have the will, we will make the way. And our success story will be one that will be, it's going to be in my heart forever and in my mind for days and years to come.
Great. And Delon, what did you do today, sir? I mean, you didn't have to go to the Artichoke Convention Center. What did you do today?
I visited family today. I visited family, and then I came home and checked what was going on in the blogosphere. That was it for me.
Great. And Rhonda, I left you for the last, not because of asking you what you did today, but to ask you, ma'am, you know, how is the family? Finally, you were able to spend a full day or two with them, weren't you?
My children, I think, are shocked that I'm home. And they're so accustomed to me leaving at a certain hour in the morning, and then, you know, I'm back by dinner time.
Mm-hmm.
So I think they're still readjusting to the fact that I'm there to police them again. But for the most part, they're very happy to have me back home. My daughter, I know, is struggling. My oldest girl, she was struggling terribly. You know, she said to me, she said, "Mom, where are you going again?" And so I understand where they came from, but then, you know, I've had to explain to them what it was I was doing and why it was important for their futures and those kinds of things. So I hope that for the, you know, the last, and it's not been 35 days for me. It's been since December when I was announced as presidential candidate and ultimately leader of TCI. So I've been on the go for months, as has Delon, as has Josh. So we're now finally winding down, and that's where we're at.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to pause our discussion with our three guests tonight as we welcome Commissioner Sase Gunraj to room 592. I must say to you, ladies and gentlemen, viewers and listeners, that, you know, you have all been asking us, and Leonard, you would remember a number of text messages came in today asking for Mr. Gunraj, you have been Mr. Popular recently, whether you like it or not. A lot of people have been clamoring for us to have you on. Just tell us what's happening and so forth. So, sir, let me tell you, I really appreciate your being able to come on at last moment. We appreciate how busy you are. But ladies and gentlemen, we have asked Mr. Gunraj to come on for just a couple of minutes, if he can, to share with us what are his thoughts as to what would have transpired up to now, and maybe whatever other words he has to share with us. Without much ado, then, I would like to hand over this microphone to Mr. Gunraj. You know, sir, welcome to room 592.
Thank you, Lord. And I saw that you had Rhonda-Ann on a moment ago. I came on and was talking. Good evening, Rhonda. Yog, where we are at this point, I don't even need to go beyond yesterday, because everything that happens at the Guyana Elections Commission is in the public domain. The public is regularly updated. I think it is the most sought after information in the country right now. That being said, the order that was the basis of the recount and the addendum to that order has put us to this place yesterday where we were to deliberate on the report received from the CEO. And what was that report? The report was a tabulation of the matrices received from the recount exercise. The matrices represented the entirety of the count for one district or region, and there were 10, of course, for regional and 10 for general. The CEO was required to tabulate that, to put those together, basically, and he was required to summarize the observation reports that also form part of the record of the recount. We have received that. the least I say about the observation reports, I believe would be better, because that has attracted a lot of public comment as well. Um, that being said, you would recall during the recount exercise, there were lots of, in fact, the CARICOM report, the much vaunted CARICOM team that was accepted by all the parties, the leader of the opposition, the president, etc. The CARICOM report described the activities or the objections that were raised during the recount exercise in some regards as a fishing expedition. But that notwithstanding, we've had that report. Now, the observation reports and the summary thereof suggests that there were anomalies of all sorts. All of them were allegations at best because no data, real data or evidence was produced to support that. And even where evidence was produced to support it, in my opinion, it didn't really matter because the Guyana Elections Commission does not have the authority so to do. So what we had, on one hand, you had a motion to move to the results, the numerical results, which were produced by the recount exercise. And on the other hand, you had a motion moved by Vincent Alexander, which was to annul the elections. In short, to annul the elections. There was tremendous argument on both sides. In fact, funny enough, there was a quoting of cases that have attracted judicial attention in the past, etc., in that meeting. And the chairman adjourned the meeting to provide her, to vote, and by voting, to give her ruling basically on it, which is tantamount to a vote in any event. Mm-hmm. And she said three things. One, that the Guyana Elections Commission did not have the authority to investigate or pronounce upon those anomalies as they were alleged or otherwise, as it was. Two, that the court, she recognized as well, and she quoted cases, she quoted relevant articles of the Constitution, etc., in support of her decision. The two, that the court was the body with sole jurisdiction to deal with those issues, and that's pursuant to a specific article of the Constitution, Article 163. And finally, she ordered that the chief election officer produces the report, and this authority to so do is under Article 177, mm-hmm. to produce a report of the elections for the purposes of declaration pursuant to Section 96 of the Representation of the People Act. That is where we broke yesterday. Subsequent to the meeting, I understand that a letter was sent under the hand of the chairman to the chief election officer, directing that he produces that report by 1 o'clock tomorrow, which is to 1 o'clock the 18th. Mm-hmm. And the next thing thereafter is a meeting has been scheduled. Well, the chairman has indicated, is seeking to have a meeting at 2 o'clock tomorrow. Now that is in a nutshell where we are.
Okay.
Now, one thing I wanna, these documents, I'm not sure if you're able to put on screen the documents that I've sent to you.
Josh, can you do that?
I'm going to ask Kevin. Some documents were sent to you. Could you have a look?
Kevin, sorry.
We work on it. In the meantime, let the commission go ahead.
So these two documents, one represents the general elections recount totals, and the other one represents the regional elections recount totals. Both of these form part of the report, and this basically is in essence the tabulation of the matrices that the chief election officer was required to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not sure if I can show it very quickly. If I can show it very quickly. This is the document. This is the
Okay.
document, right? Okay, I'm not sure how it is being shown. But this document shows the total valid votes cast. This document shows the total valid votes cast.
Right.
So when you look at the terms of article of section 96, it speaks of the chief election officer using the total valid votes cast as the basis of making this report. And the unique nature, basically what differs in the report that the CEO is now required to present to us from this document that I have in front of me, basically it is the allocation of seats that he now has to put in. That is in essence what he has to do. So we expect tomorrow that he provides that report and we can get the work of this nation moving.
Correct. So, Commissioner, thank you for that. I know you got to run, and but you know you're here, so we got to abuse your kindness and ask a few little questions. Commissioner, are you confident that your meeting of tomorrow is like the end of this process?
Did the commissioner sign there?
Of course, when I came on, I heard, yes, he did. When I came on the program, I heard Rhonda talking, saying it is not 35 days that we've been at this, that she's been at this since December. Unfortunately, I want to say that I've been at this, and the commission as a whole has been at this for years. Because you recall all the shenanigans that occurred immediately after the passing of the no confidence motion. You've had all sorts of issues arising at the commission, and an improperly commenced house-to-house registration. You've had a cessation of that, a prolonged claims and objections period. We've had delays in the naming of the elections date. I say that to say that every single aspect of the work of the commission that you expected to be very straightforward has not gone straightforward. Mm-hmm. But as I said to the media yesterday, I consider myself an eternal optimist. And the simplicity of the task at hand for the CEO makes me very optimistic that he can do so, and do so with alacrity, and provide that document, like I said, so that we can pronounce on it and have this nation move forward with its work.
Thank you. So, Mr. Gunraj, I have quoted you on multiple occasions. Those famous words, from spreadsheet to bedsheet. You know, that phrase I think should be etched into Guyana's history.
I hope I can get some royalty from it, Yog. I'll have to speak to my attorneys.
Well, it's in public place already, and that horse has bolted. But, Commissioner, the truth is, I mentioned that again because Guyana is at a position or a point presently where we can either put that saga behind us, or we will see, or the alternate is it's going to recur, like a bad penny is going to turn up all the time. What's in Commissioner Sase Gunraj's mind, or what occurred, what happened, what was your immediate reaction when you saw those damaging statements in the Observer Mission report saying that GECOM was complicit? Those are words from the report, saying that the commissioners, people within GECOM and outside of GECOM did not behave in a manner expected. How did Commissioner Sase Gunraj feel as a human being, as a commissioner?
Yog, I will give you an answer that I gave in relation to a question that was posed to me by one media operative perhaps over a year ago. And it related to the threat of contempt proceedings. The threat of contempt proceedings being made against commissioners individually and collectively. And I said then, and I will say this now, I believe that the work that I do as an individual and part of a collective on the Guyana Elections Commission is well known. My positions in relation to almost every matter is publicly ventilated. And I can only but rely, and you'd agree as well, that there has been no disputation, whether publicly or privately, as to my account of the positions that we have taken on the commission. As a consequence, I believe that my work, my positions, and by extension, that of my colleagues on my side, Bibi Shadiq and Robeson Ben, we will be vindicated. We'll be vindicated because we have always taken positions in keeping with the law and positions that favor transparency and positions that tend towards credible, free, fair, and elections that are free from fear as well. Mm-hmm. So all of these shenanigans that we see passing as for part of the elections process, I have objected to it. I've objected to it. I have made my views known both privately in the commission and publicly in the media, etc. So I hold no fear, and I take no umbrage when aspersions are cast on the work of the commission, because of course I believe that what we do is open for public scrutiny.
Absolutely. So, Commissioner, on that same note, I wish to highlight something to you. The Observer report stated clearly that based on its observation, based on observing all of this recount, it deemed the results, or it called that the results were credible and advised that these results should be used to make a declaration. I mean, I'm just paraphrasing. What would have happened in your mind when you saw that conclusion by the Observer mission?
The Observer mission's report only confirmed what I already knew. I had the benefit of seeing almost 2,000 statements of poll from the Guyana Elections Commission as part of my mandate, as part of my duty, and as part of my rights at the commission. As you know, the remainder of the Region 4 ones became suddenly hidden as part of this grand design to rig the elections. By March the 5th, by March the 4th, rather, I had seen about 2,000. I had in my possession about 2,000, just under 2,000 statements of poll for general and about 2,000 for regional. By March the 5th, the remainder I saw on a public website, which was published by the People's Progressive Party Civic, all of their statements of poll for Region 4. The conjoined effect of those that I had in my possession and those which were without of my possession, which I did not have in my possession, I could have looked at on that website, and I came to the firm conclusion what the results of the elections were. Mm-hmm. That is why I was so incensed when I saw that insidious act of Mingo on the 5th, which was replicated on the 13th. So I am not surprised at the outcome of the recount, and no right-thinking person ought to have been surprised by it. It's a very simple thing. Mm-hmm. But like I said, there's a reason why the rear view mirror is so small and the windshield is so big. I prefer to look at the windshield and not look back. We have a recount. We have a set of results that have been deemed credible by the CARICOM observer team, and they said even though there were minor irregularities and anomalies, etc., it did not serve to affect the will of the electorate and ought to form the basis of a declaration. And I believe in essence, the letter and spirit of the ruling of the chairman yesterday mirrored that, and I expect to see a declaration tomorrow based on those results. I've shown you the results a moment ago that were on my phone. I
Correct.
believe you have the document in your possession now.
It is on
It's a
screen
public
presently.
document.
Yes.
Oh, great. So if you see in the column at the far right, it says the total valid votes cast. If you look at the bottom, it has on the left the districts, the columns represent
Correct.
the various parties, and the last row shows the total votes received in relation to each party, in relation to each party. The regional one is no different. So as a consequence, like I said, it requires no gloss. It requires now a simple mathematical calculation based on law. The method of calculation is enshrined in legislation. So as a consequence, like I said, it's a simple mathematical calculation to extrapolate that report to seats, etc., and we get that tomorrow from the CEO.
And this figure
Thank
here,
you.
Commissioner, where is it coming from? Where did you get this figure? Is it official GECOM records?
That document was provided to me by the chief election officer.
And so tomorrow, in a nutshell, what he's going to provide to you is just a breakdown of the seats?
Extrapolating those numbers to seats, yes.
And that's your understanding. And for the viewers and the listeners out there, sir, could you tell us how soon afterwards are we likely, Guyana is likely to see the swearing of a new president?
Let me tell you what happened in 2015, Leonard, and then I guess you can, like I said yesterday to the media, I expect no less alacrity than what occurred in 2015 to obtain tomorrow. In 2015, the Region 4 declaration was done sometime on Friday. On Friday the 15th of May. Elections having happened on the 11th of May, which is the Monday. We had, and the law prescribes that objections or requests for recounts, etc., come by 12 o'clock, before 12 o'clock the next day. I don't even want to rehash the shenanigans that occurred then. Like I said, we're looking forward, not looking backward. But at 12 o'clock the next day, I was summoned to a meeting of the commission. That report was presented to us. It was voted upon, and by 2 o'clock in the afternoon, the president was being sworn in.
So
I repeat, I don't expect any less alacrity to attend the situation on this occasion.
So people could have a president sworn in tomorrow.
It is eminently possible, and it should be.
Yog?
Good. Thank you for that, Mr. Gunraj. And any closing thoughts from you, sir? Because we know you have a tight day ahead of you. We don't want to take up your time, and I'm sure that the young ones were glad to have you home for a night.
Yes, that is true, and you know, I understand. I know you have Rhonda there. I understand that you may have other guests, but they. Oh yes, now I'm seeing Josh and Delon. Good evening, guys. You know, my closing words would be this, Yog. We spent in excess of a month seeing each other's faces almost on a daily basis. Having at least one meal with each other for 1 month, right? Coming home after that was a bit strange. So I know they have a lot to tell you. Their experiences have to be very unique. They have to be very unique, and I believe the exploitation of the experiences that they have coming out of this exercise will shape the way Guyana sees elections in the future.
Thank you. And Mr. Gunraj, I know that you have been, you and probably your other commissioners, all from both sides of the political divide. You guys have certainly walked with a target on your back for these past 105 days because the entire nation was watching your every move. We can make light moments of it now. Thankfully, Dr. Josh Kanhai and others were in the room there with you guys. So even though you had to wear the mask, people were still watching your every move, analyzing your every word, and ensuring that even your body language was being translated to mean something or the other. So you have been under immense scrutiny. But I would like to say on behalf of our viewers and listeners, thank you, sir, for standing up and standing by the people of Guyana and doing your job. And certainly in a couple of days' time, we will be able to tell you, hopefully, job well done. But we won't tell you as yet.
I wouldn't want you to tell me that now, Yog. But you're talking about the people of Guyana. I was quoted in the press as saying that weight has been lifted off the shoulders of the Guyanese people, and I really stand true to that. I feel that personally, and in closing, I'd like to thank the Guyanese public for the patience exhibited thus far in this process, and I can only say that it is our collective hope that this can be completed in short order.
What would
The
you say?
Guyanese people
What would you
deserve
say to
no
the
less.
GECOM chairman?
Oh,
No, the GECOM chairman has always had my support, and even though I have reserved the right to criticize the chairman where necessary, or not the chairman herself, but any actions or acts or omissions, the chairman and by extension the commission and the secretariat has always had my support. But my support ought not to be translated to meaning that I can't criticize aspects when it deserves criticism. So I am confident that, like I said, we can get this done in short order.
right. Mr. Gunraj, Commissioner says, Gunraj, thank you so much, sir. It has been great to have you here in Room 59. And certainly, I want to say this to you. I'm looking forward, hoping that if not before this weekend, certainly at the beginning of the new week, we can have you back in Room 592, even if it is just to tell you, job well done, sir. But we remain proud of the strength, the tenacity, the courage and everything that you and your fellow commissioners would have put up over the last couple of days, and certainly the chairman too. With all the attacks you guys have been having, it had to have been a tough job. But the end is near, and we wait that time. And the good thing is there is no fat lady around, but we will all be singing if the fat lady doesn't sing.
Fantastic. Thank you. Good evening, guys.
Thank you, Commissioner. And our good evening to your family.
And yours as well.
Okay.
Thank you. So, ladies and gentlemen, that was an update from Commissioner Sase Gunraj. And to my fellow panel members tonight, Rhonda-Ann, Josh Kanhai, and Delon Anthony Moffett. My apologies to you, that we kept you all waiting. But now I'm going to throw that same question to you, starting with you, Rhonda, if you don't mind. What do you see the next 24 to 40? What do you see 24 hours and what do you see in 48 hours, ma'am?
I see a declaration coming and then I see a lovely court case coming. It is how we operate in Guyana. My experience has always been, I'm always amused because I'm on the outside looking in at the shenanigans, as Sase and I like to call it. So ultimately, there's going to be a declaration for somebody. And, Sase is optimistic. But the only thing I'm optimistic about is a court case.
So well, you see, Ms. Lam, are you seeing a delay in the swearing of the president?
my experience with elections in this country is that it doesn't matter even if the proof is staring you down in the face. You know, I remember in 2015 when GECOM had to produce SOPs before people, would finally back off. And so this is just 2015 in reverse and on a little more steroid. So ultimately what will happen is whomever, because we already have the government saying, you can only use valid, well, I shouldn't say the government, I should say Mr. Harman has been saying you can't, you only can use the valid votes, which would have been in the CEO's first report. And the other side, like Commissioner Gunraj was telling you just now, he says, listen, we have 10 certified statements of tabulation for the 10 regions, and they have us in a 15,000 plus lead, and therefore the PPP has won. But like everything else in life, when it comes to elections in Guyana, an injunction, possibly, which will delay. So I would say, let's prepare for some action.
Thank you. And Doc, I want to come to you with that almost the same question. Are you optimistic, Doc, that a declaration will be made soon, and that declaration will see the results of the recount being used to make that declaration? In other words, that the PPPC will be declared the winner?
Well, sir, I am a very optimistic person. I am always hopeful, but I am not naive, as I put it. On my point of view, Commissioner Sase just read out the aspects of Section 96 of GROPA, Representation of the People's Act, and that clearly states what Mr. Lowenfield has to do and what he needs to present, valid votes. And I am in complete agreement with Mr. Gunraj that the CEO will have to present that tabulated figure that he has shown on screen on his phone, and he's going to have to allocate seats in Parliament. And without that, he cannot even move. He can't even budge. The law states what you must do. So you should do it, right? And I believe he will, and I believe that Madam Chair will move towards a declaration tomorrow afternoon. As for an injunction, I've consulted a few lawyers. I've been speaking to people on a few lawyers, I should say, and they don't foresee any shenanigans, or I'd like to call it jiggery-pokery, happening with an injunction coming towards the declaration, right? So I'm a bit relieved and from their words, and I would like to say that we will see the PPPC, Dr. Irfan Ali, president-elect as of currently. He will be sworn in, and that court case Ms. Lam is talking about will be via an election petition, which is rightfully and lawfully as it would get.
Right. Thank you, Doc. We must, before I come to Delon for his comments, ladies and gentlemen, I want to bring something to your attention. Over these past 105 days, what we have seen is that the chairman of GECOM would have taken her judicial mind. In other words, she would have taken her time to think through things, and thus she would not have been coming out to the public, Leonard. You would not have seen her making statements. If there were press releases, the press releases were made kind of, on periodic basis that didn't really help the anxiety of the nation. However, there was a marked change yesterday when she immediately caused to be released the press release that stated, Josh Kanhai, that stated, to your point, that I am not a court, GECOM is not a court. If you have queries, take it to the court. We cannot be the court. And I think that killed, Leonard, I want to ask your opinion here as a senior journalist. That basically flattened any of the aspirations to go to the court to seek an injunction to prohibit swearing in and all of that, didn't it, Leonard, in your mind?
Yes, it's a very good question, Yog. You would have seen the decision being taken by the chairperson at around just after 3:30 there. And the alacrity, I think there's a word you could use to describe it, in which that statement from GECOM came out. I think it was very strategic in its issuance for the simple reason. I think the chair lady and maybe the commissioners, I'm not sure what role the commissioners would have played with that, was to allay any fears or to make sure that there's no kind of confusion as to what the commission or the chairperson would have wanted Keith Lowenfield to do. And she followed that up a little later by issuing him a letter which is outlining what is it exactly that you wanted. So I think she is in a mode, I could read it, the chair lady is in a mode to get this over with and done very quickly, and she wants to be very clear in her instructions. There can be no ambiguity in what she is saying. And so therein, why you would have had the press release one, and then you would have had the letter followed up to that, after that, within hours of that, so that Keith Lowenfield can start his work and deliver by tomorrow, 1 o'clock. It's very strategic, in my opinion, very strategic in the way that was done.
Correct. A lot of
Can I add a bit?
go on.
Yes, sorry, but I don't know if you guys would recall, but Miss Claudette Singh, or retired Justice Claudette Singh, she would have been the one to have deliberated on the 1997 election, right, where there was an elections petition coming towards for use of ID card when they just snuck that piece of literature into the law, right, that you must have an ID card in order to vote. She was the one that deliberated on that case. She was the one that passed judgment. So she knows very well and very clear that only the High Court and the High Court of Guyana itself has the jurisdiction to proclaim or to declare an election null, void, discredit it, investigate it, etc. So she has made that quite clear, and I believe, as senior journalist Mr. Gildarie just said, from a psychological perspective, I believe that she wants to get this done.
Correct. Well said, Dr. Josh Kanhai. Delon, I want to ask you about something else, sir. You have been a part of this recount. You have been a part of the political campaigning. One of the negatives that has come out, Delon, is the way we treat each other as Guyanese. And I know, my friend, I know you have been on the receiving end of a lot of verbal attacks and so forth. Has it made Delon stronger? Has this experience made you become more passionate for what you can do for this country, sir?
I wouldn't say that it has made me stronger or more passionate, because I have always been very passionate about my involvement, even before I got directly involved in politics, about love for the country first, and party always a distant second. So it is surprising, even though you expect it, it is always surprising that people would still decide to attack someone just because of their political affiliation or who they want to support. But at the end of the day, it is someone's democratic right to form a party, to support a party, to be involved in a process. So it is part, of course, it is part of the process, but it's something that we need to curb. The politics in Guyana needs to be more mature. There is going to come a time that I hope that the politics in Guyana could be mature to the point that we start discussing policies opposed to the attacks on persons and the character assassination that we see.
Right.
Correct. And you know, I want to mention something again, and I'm hoping Rhonda, Dr. Josh, Delon, and all of the men and women in that room, I want to encourage you guys. You should write your personal experiences down, because you know what? This history, this 35 days history of what transpired in the Artichoke Convention Center must be documented. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to remind everybody that you and I on the outside, we did not know the degrees of animosity things that happen in those rooms. And I would like people to know, because we have to assess our political leaders. We have to assess them if they could go on an international stage and behave the way they did. It does not behove this country well for our own mental and spiritual and emotional development, much less our economic development. There are times, Leonard, in that room when, whether it was by accident or intent, persons were being called by their car number, by their vehicle number, rather than their name, like as if to identify a person with their vehicle. And all of those things are not going to see the light of day, but it is important because young men like Delon, like Carlisa, like Dr. Josh Kanhai, young women like Rhonda-Ann, and all of you guys have been through a horrible experience. But Dr. Josh, what is next for Dr. Josh where politics is concerned, sir?
Where politics is concerned, it's not. It's something that I want to pursue. I am gonna be here for the long run. I'm gonna be here for Guyana for the long haul, and I'm definitely going to be with the new movement. I was a founding member, and we have come a far way. We've got 245 persons that would have put some amount of trust in us to give us directs. And I want to find those 245 persons and thank them and find out and listen to them and find out what's their issue, have a talk with them. That's my kind of politics. My kind of politics is not just sitting on a chair and just passing orders. I want to get out in the field, want to talk to people. And for me, the campaigning starts as of tomorrow. The campaign has already started as of today for me. So I've been talking to people on Facebook and just continuing the works. It's not for me. It's not for anything. It's not for a party. It's for Guyana. And I want people to get that in their head. It's about Guyana.
Correct. Delon, you spoke well just now of your passion and your ongoing intent to serve and to be one for the people. What is next for Delon Anthony Moffett with regards to politics in Guyana, sir?
Well, for me and TCI, we plan on building on the platform that we have, strengthen our policies, and start gearing ourselves towards taking part in local government elections. Again, our goals are going to be achievable goals. They're going to be tangible goals. We are not here to buy or sell dreams. We are going to be getting on the ground, finding out from people what are their issues, what are their contributions to policy in Guyana. For far too long, we have had people decide what people want instead of finding out what they want. Mm-hmm. I think that if policy is going to affect people, then they should have a direct influence in what impacts their lives.
Very well said, Delon. Very well said. Indeed, that is true. The politicians, they decide what we must want and not listen to what we really want. Rhonda, what's next for Rhonda-Ann with regards to politics? And just before you answer that question, ma'am, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to open the lines to have your calls, a couple calls we can accommodate. But let's now go to Rhonda for your words and what's next for Miss Rhonda-Ann.
I think Delon has summarized TCI's position here. The election happened at, March 2nd, March 3rd, we were in campaign mode for LGs. We identified our candidates. We started looking at strategy, things like that, because ultimately at the end of the day, the TCI position is clear. We're not a fly-by-night. We didn't just show up to contest the 2020, general and regional elections. It's a long-term goal. And ultimately what we're looking to do is to change how we do politics in Guyana. Mm-hmm. For instance, I spent the last 7 months practicing the clean politics that I want TCI to place in the public domain. That has not always been the receiving end for us, but we put that out there that, we were going to practice clean politics, and we kept to that. The other aspect of it, of course, for myself is growing the TCI. We have had a number of persons after we uploaded our membership status. We've had a number of persons who've expressed interest, and so we are attempting, and then by 2025, we want to be able to contest all 10 regions, both regional and general elections. So that is a 5-year plan, our long-term goal. But for right now, we are growing our membership. We are growing, more specifically, we want to take the show on the road. We want to hear from the citizens. We want to hear what affects them. And ultimately, we are all about ensuring that the incoming government is kept to its mandate. It's kept that they are clean, they're lean, all of Guyana benefits. And this is something that I'm going to sing given, the tenseness and the chargedness of our society right now. I would like us to have honest conversations with each other. Every single Guyanese has a scar that is going to prevent that unity of our motto. And so my aim, and I've said this to every single TCI, and I've probably been singing it all week on every show I've been on, we are going to need to have honest conversations with each other. Whether it's about race, whether it's about economic suppression, all of the things that affect us as a people have to be brought out. There are scars that are still festering, they're still lingering there. And rather than putting band-aids on them, let's actually get our citizens involved in the things that affect them. And ultimately, we will try to heal and move to the point whereby these, elections don't become this contentious battleground. And you're just praying and hoping for it to be done so you can plaster it back for 5 years, and then we wait for the next battle 5 years later.
Absolutely. And here is a suggestion I want to place in front of both you and Josh tonight. Is it possible that some of the new parties can somehow strategize to find a common ground, so that you guys can take over some of the municipalities at the next LGE, and you get the grounds from ground up, groundswell, in terms of managing municipalities? Joshua, for example, is in dire straits because it is always torn between PPP and PNC. And so if Joshua is going nowhere, the problems are going to continue. Is there a way that you two can, what's your comment to my suggestion there?
I've actually had this discussion with
go ahead, Rhonda.
Jabor of Anog, and I've had it briefly with Asha of TNM. So it is something that we've tossed and floated around as we prep. I think at this point, we just wanted to get the mother of all elections settled, sorted. We had a government sworn in. And then we are going to turn our attention to how we can, what is best for Guyana and what is best for us, ensuring that we are a force that is, that to be reckoned with. So I've had these conversations, but they've been sidetracked with first the recount and then ultimately, where we are at this point. But it's not something that we haven't had a conversation about.
Great. Josh, your thoughts on that? And let me just say this. I know Leonard and I would have used the phrase, and I just heard Rhonda use the phrase. I would hate to refer to this election as any mother. This has been the nightmare of elections. My mother, mothers deserve something that's better. And Rhonda, you're even my mother, so I wouldn't compare this election to you at all. Josh, Dr. Josh, your thoughts?
I heard someone call it the mother-in-law of all elections.
I heard somebody call it a pregnant mother, and it's about to deliver 9 months later.
Let's just not be sexist. This has to be a disgruntled, stepfather or something. So.
A disgruntled Yog.
This election has been quite an amazing journey. And coming back to your question. You see, the joiner is a perfect example of why all the small parties should put their heads and put their people together to come for a better Guyana. Mm-hmm. And I was going to ask Rhonda, even before you asked this question, that she should think about it. And I know Kian has been pushing it as well. And it's something that we have to do. we have to find that common ground. And if we want to play good politics and clean politics, then I don't think we'll have any issue, because all all the new parties, I'm not going to say small, but the new parties hold the same grounds. If you look at our manifesto, we have almost the similar policies and the similar ideas, right? So I'm just going to say that the joiner was a perfect example, and the joiner has secured a seat in Parliament, and we want to see that allocated tomorrow.
Absolutely, absolutely. And ladies and gentlemen, we are ready to take a call. I'm just going to go straight over to Delon for his thoughts, whether he sees the possibility of, these new parties coming together, and how can we make use of the local government elections as the next big platform. Delon?
Yes, thanks. I do see the possibility of parties, I'd say the new parties coming together. I don't think after this process we could actually see ourselves as smaller parties, because we played a very big role in seeing the process through. We have stayed true to the process. It wasn't the case that we didn't get the amount of votes that we hoped for, and we were bitter and disgruntled. So the future has a lot of potential for working together. And if we are serious about not practicing the mudslinging in the politics, we could actually sit down, iron out our differences, see our common goals and work towards it. That is possible, and it is something that is achievable. And I keep stressing the point that whatever is achievable and tangible goals, TCI would work towards it. You're not here for delusion. We're not here to live a dream or to sell a dream. Once it is tangible, once it is achievable, we would work concertedly towards it.
Beautiful. And so, ladies and gentlemen, I think tonight we are putting, Leonard, putting the Georgian municipality especially on notice. Your time is near. The new parties are going to get into action and ensure that we can get change in every sphere of political life in this country. Leonard, what's your thoughts there, my friend? I see you smiling.
You had a young pandit as a mayor, so if you have a female mayor once again, it's something I look forward to, or somebody who's in the 20s. We need lots of energy, Yog, to turn the city. I thought in 2015 that we were on the right track. We lost it somewhere along the way when the administration then would have hit the ground running, cleaning up the city. I think we're in a better position from 2015 leading on to 2020 than we were prior to that. However, we dropped the ball in that. And so it is going to be exciting to see some young people take that gauntlet, and they say we are going to go with it. So let's see what happens. But you want to call us in, it's 226-7453, 226-7453. We want to hear. We have three young persons with us here today, Rhonda-Ann, Josh Kanhai, and Delon Moffett. So we want to hear from you guys. There's a caller already online. Good evening, caller. You on the air?
Hello?
Yes, good evening. You're on the air. Go ahead. Yes, go ahead. You're on the air. Yes.
Lower your volume.
Lower your volume on your radio, please. Yes, I think we'd have to end that call. The person's not ready. In the meantime, 226-7453 and 62222. You could send us your messages to that on WhatsApp or via text. Even when there's another call. Yes, go ahead, call. You're on the air. Yes, you're on the air. Go ahead, call.
Okay, so let's drop that call. So, ladies and gentlemen, when you're calling in, please turn down or turn off your radio so that there is no feedback in our system. Meanwhile, the calls are coming in. Rhonda, Josh, Delon, I have another question that I would like to send your way. With regards to, the future of this country, would you be would you readily receive, readily is probably a poor word, but would you be receptive of the next government offering you to be included in some appointment, in some service where you could serve the country? What's your take on something like that? Josh, you want to take it first?
Okay.
All right. Yeah. Well, to your previous statement, to the little discussion you, Mr. Gildarie had,
Hmm.
I would say challenge accepted, sir.
Great.
And to your current question, my thing is that I want to see Guyana move forward. Country, yeah, I want to see Guyana move forward, and I want to see this country move forward. And in whatever little way I can help, I would get involved. If it's for volunteerism or if it's for going out there and speaking to the youths on behalf of the new government, something of the sort, I would not have an issue with, because we want to have that mature sort of politics, right? And I want to not only talk it, but I want to walk it. So I would have no issue with uh, someone from the current government saying, "Hey, Josh, come out and help me," because I've made some friends with some of the PPP guys, some of their young youth candidates, or some of their youth that have come and recount. And if they call me to help, I would gladly go, because this is what I want to see. I want the country to move forward, and I want to see this country and the youths, especially the youths. The youths are the people I want to touch, and the people I want to start making an impact on. And if I get that opportunity to speak with them, talk to them, however way, I would do it.
Thank you. Thank you, Doc. Rhonda?
Um, for TCI, we have said publicly that at no point would we consider, coalitions or joining with any of the status quo politicians. And it's a stance we've maintained for since we were formed. The idea is not to it's not to say no, because if your country asks you for assistance and you're qualified to give it, it would make no sense not to do so. However, for TCI, for us, it's a double-edged sword. We want to be able to maintain our independence, and everything we've seen from status quo politics, even in coalitions where documents are split down the middle, those kinds of things. There is always a disadvantage when you are the smaller voice within certain positions. So anything that threatens that independence, anything that threatens us, from firing salvos and keeping our conscience, and what we are doing is representing the people. You cannot represent the people if you are compromised. And oftentimes I've seen persons take positions and they're expected to shut up, toe the line.
That's the
And
problem.
things are happening, whether it's corrupt practices, whether it's nepotism, any of these things, and you can't say anything because you're effectively compromised. And so, whilst we would like to serve, we will not serve in positions which compromise our integrity, which compromise our ability to call a spade, and therefore it is something we'd have to think very long and hard about. It's not something we've discussed, to say, and for the record, nobody has offered us anything, despite the rumors. However, if you can contribute to your country, and you can do so from a space of qualifications, and you're not taking from anyone else who is, aptly more qualified than you are, then absolutely. But again, it is on the condition that it would be on the condition for me, and I'm not going to speak for Delon here, of my independence cannot be compromised, my ability to call a spade cannot be compromised, and therefore it is something I'd have to think very long and hard about. And of course I'd have to see the long-term benefit, not for myself, but for our people and for the country that we have opted to bring the truth to. And because, persons have said to me, we always wondered why GECOM took so long with certain things, and then we understood. So when I start in the recount, when Delon sat, for days in a recount, counting ballots, It was to show the people, because we always have hidden pockets and secrets within politics. And this is a recipe for disaster. When our people don't know what's happening, we spin things. We've seen both sides of the status quo spin things. And so why recount 2020 was so important for us was ensuring that that information was in the public domain. And if you are compromised, you cannot call a spade a spade. And so for me, it's something I would definitely have to think very long and hard. It would have to be ventilated in the public for their own thoughts and those kinds of things. And I'd have to see a very, very long-term benefit before I push my nose in anywhere.
Correct. That's a very good point. And Josh, your point is taken as well, because therein lies the challenge. You were, on one hand, you're willing to serve the country, and on another hand, it's like you're damned if you do and damned if you don't. Because if you don't take up a position to help serve the country, then are you really meaning to serve? And if you do take it up, then to Rhonda's point, the politicians in Guyana, the large party politicians, they want absolute loyalty or not at all. And it is a problem as well. So I take both of your comments on it. Leonard, do we have a caller there, or
Yes.
let me go over to Delon?
There's a caller online. Yes. Good evening, caller. You're in the air.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening, sir.
Yeah, I have a point to make. I kind of find that, at this point of time, I think the road is straight. The direction is straight in which we're supposed to be heading. We're not supposed to be pessimistic in terms of thinking that one will find an injunction and will try their best to stop us from even for anything. It is clear cut. It is clearly defined. The lady has made a decision that this is what she's going to go for. So, in my view, there is no legal course of action that could stop that.
Okay, that's your contribution?
That's right, and I want to, it is a concern, and I think it's something that we should not be, giving these people clues there, as far as I'm concerned. We should just be thinking as optimistic people, just look at the brighter side of it. And this is the right way to go. This is just my view. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Much appreciated. Your views,
yes, don't send up no smoke signals, man. What's wrong with you?
Your views are appreciated, sir. And indeed, Leonard, you and I have faced some blistering attacks that we were actually giving these people ideas. I don't know that we are that good to give such dirty ideas. But I must say, let me come to Delon. Delon, I'm looking on my screen here, and one party still has as its flagship honesty, integrity, and dignity. And I am wondering, how dare you use words like honesty and integrity anymore? Here is where, Delon, and I don't want to put you on a spot, it's just an idea I'm sharing here. Here is what, ladies and gentlemen. As of today, we know that Lowenfield has to prepare, as that caller just said, has to prepare a summary of the numbers of the recount. Not a summary of what Lowenfield want to prepare, a summary of the numbers of the recount. Yet, as of this evening, Joe Harmon, and I really think the on needs to be dropped, but Joe Harmon has said, oh, well, the declaration is not made, and who knows that Lowenfield has to look at the valid votes. Ladies and gentlemen, ask these three that were in the room. They signed the certificate of tabulation, and the certificate of tabulation has one word in it: valid. It has total valid votes counted. Full stop. All of those ballots work. And finally, Delon, to your point, I want to say this, to ask your comment. In the recount for 35 days, ladies and gentlemen, we didn't count any ballots other than were in the box when Mingo made his declaration. No new ballots. In fact, this is the first time that we actually counted the ballots. And we showed that Mingo never counted and Mingo never taken the count because he manufactured 19,000 votes. Delon, what was on your thought? What was in your mind when you were seeing how Mingo's figures were being rubbished by the recounter? What would have been going through your mind?
I remember when I was on the previous time you invited me here, I said that I cringed to think that this could actually repeat itself.
Mm-hmm.
Why I say that is that unless we have an approach that fixes our broken systems, then our systems will repeat itself. To the point that those who stand to benefit from loopholes will jump through the loopholes and try to benefit from them. From the very first instance that we saw inflation in numbers, we knew we could have confirmed that the numbers were inflated. During the recount process, it was just cementing what we already knew. It was just the evidence of what we already established as a party. We knew that there was inflation, and we knew that GECOM had to be complicit in the skullduggery, and Mingo's fraudulent declaration was proof that GECOM was complicit in the skullduggery. So I always felt that GECOM cannot investigate GECOM, because if I am party to something that is wrong, then why would I do a proper investigation? Why would I expose myself?
Thank you. Josh, when you saw the observer mission report, Josh, what went through your mind? I'm sure you had a hearty laugh because you felt vindicated, didn't you?
Oh man, when I read that report, the executive summary was something else. It was quite interesting to read, and it was to the point, and it was everything that I knew that they would have said, because they were only speaking from credibility, a point of credibility. But when I went down to read a bit further in the actual inept dialogues they had, I saw the words bizarre. I saw words like fishing expedition, and it was completely true, because that's how it felt. That's how it was. That was the most accurate way to describe what would have happened within the workstations. Then something totally struck me, that they would have read the Representation of the People's Act, and they put in that report that when they would have went through that act, they would have not found anything about an observation report. When I saw that, I was like, wow. I was amazed. I was like, yes, we would have credible persons looking at this election. They have delivered, and Madam Chair would be reading this, and she would come to her, not to her senses, but she would feel that sense to do something right for Guyana and to act in the just way as possible.
Thank you. Rhonda, here is a politically tainted question that has just come in directed at you. I want to read it to you. Rhonda-Ann, what's your comment to Irfan Ali's position that there will be no witch hunting? What would you say about those who have been stealing and should be in front of the courts?
Listen, there are a couple of issues here. If we're talking about stealing and there has been an investigation and, the evidence has been presented in a court of law, then by all means, we do what we need to do. Witch hunting is something else. We've had situations where we've had persons have been appointed politically, and their tenure, of course, is dependent on the graces of the government. So if we're going the route of witch hunting, just, taking persons out of their positions just because, then, you have to consider the fact that we're talking about healing a nation and moving forward and ensuring that you're a government for all of the people. But in cases whereby we have active investigations, there's been evidence of, fraud, theft, any of these items from the public purse, then by all means, if you do my motto is very simple. If you do the crime, you do the time. But again, you have to be afforded the natural course of the law of an investigation, evidence presented, and you are, however the law runs it, if you have to be judged by, 12 persons sitting in a room, or a magistrate or a judge decides your fate, then by all means. But witch hunting for the sake of witch hunting. But here is the issue. We have spent so long putting persons in political positions, nepotism, we owe them a favor, these kinds of things. We are always going to have instances where, because we do not allow professionalism to take its course, because we don't hire qualified persons, we are always going to have charges of nepotism, witch hunting, every single time a government changes. Mm-hmm. And so there are practices that need to be changed. There are practices that have to do with the professionalism and the qualifications of the persons we hire. And ultimately, once that person is able to execute their mandate without fear or favor, and they show no implicit political bias, but they're quite capable of the job, I have no issues with that. But stealing, that's another conversation. But witch hunting, for witch hunting's sake, I don't agree with, especially if the person is competent.
And Yogi, if I may ask, and this is a kind of a follow-up, a caller, listener, would have sent this in to us. They said ABC and EU countries, they've warned of sanctions. It is now time to call on them to remind that we have individuals like Keith Lowenfield and Clement Mingo and the intellectual authors who's done the guts to this country. Would you endorse, and I guess I would have to put it to individually very quickly because as we come to wrap up time, would you endorse a visa revocations for these people while there's an investigation ongoing by these countries, especially who would have warned of what is happening?
Doc, you want to go first?
Okay.
Right. Well, from my standpoint, as Rhonda-Ann has rightfully said, if you do the crime and you're found, you have to do the time, and there are consequences. I believe that we should follow through with investigations, and we should follow through to the end to have some charges placed on these individuals. I'm not sure as to the jurisdiction the countries would have, the ABC countries would have on placing sanctions on these individuals, or if that would fall under their laws as criteria to revoke a passport or to discredit or take away a citizenship, I should say, from an individual. So I'm not very, I wouldn't proceed further to deliberate on that at this point until I am a bit more familiar with their systems.
My understanding, just quickly, Yoga, my understanding is that the person is asking for preemptive action before an investigation is thing, because you don't want nobody running and getting away out of the country. So I think that is what the person wants to ask in that vein.
Well, if it's from that standpoint, then definitely if an investigation is ongoing on any sort of criminal matter, then the airports are notified. The two main airports in Guyana are notified so that the individuals cannot or should not even be stepping foot on these grounds to the airport, that is. So I believe that it is going to happen once they're being investigated, and it should happen if it has not been thought about.
Right. The problem you have there, Leonard, is many of these people are dual citizens, so you can't stop them from going back to their home country.
Mr. Mingo Mr. Mingo is a dual citizen?
I don't know, and you're not going to get me to comment on anything about that, sir. Before a court case comes to Kiter News.
Yes, you.
Yes. So, Leonard and Rhonda, Dr. Josh, Delon, viewers and listeners, this situation that we have, if I may summarize it very quickly, we have the current status is that we are now on watch, basically waiting for tomorrow 13 hours, 1 o'clock tomorrow afternoon, to see what Mr. Lowenfield will be presenting to the commission. And thereafter, of course, the commission may vote, I certainly think it will have a vote on how to adopt that report or not. Thereafter, a declaration ought to be made in short order. However, as Josh said earlier, we have seen so many things. Rhonda also intimated to it, Delon as well. We have seen so many twists and turns since March 2nd, 2020, that we don't know what may happen or not. But to be on the positive note, we are certainly awaiting that. There should be nothing else that can stop the chairman from making a declaration. In the meantime, though, ladies and gentlemen, I wish to remind you all, there has been a lot of unnecessary statements, a lot of unnecessary postings on Facebook, on social media of all sorts, on Twitter and so forth. Please, let us desist. We have a country that we must take care of. We have children that's looking at us. Let us not curse up each other. Let us not, post anything let's not ridicule each other. Let's not do anything that will make people feel bad. There is no loser. There is no winner if you really want Guyana to win. And that must be our focus. So I would want to call out on persons. I would want to call out on people who are posting videos about ridiculous things about ammunition and ridiculous things about race hate. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're going to post hate in this age and time, it means you really belong to another world, not this world we are living in. And you need to probably see a psychiatrist or something. Maybe Dr. Josh can advise you who to talk to, him being in the medical field. But certainly, keep your tones down. We have a country to run, as Rhonda said, as Josh said, as Delon intimated. We have a country to run, and we can't run it with hate. We can't run it in acrimony. We have to use 2020 elections as a learning stage and move on. The future is now. And now will be dependent on how we react and how we interact with each other. To that young lady who posted a horrible video this afternoon on social media, please, you are young. The world is ahead of you. Be quiet and learn. If you have nothing good to say, you don't have to say anything, ladies and gentlemen. So, ladies and gentlemen, as we are about to wrap up from room 592, let us ensure that we stay on top, stay connected. And Leonard, what's going to happen on Elections Watch tomorrow, sir, and COVID Watch?
Thank you very much. By 1 o'clock is when Keith Lowenfield, Chief Elections Officer, is mandated to hand in his report. And from there's going to be a meeting, according to Commission says Gunraj has been called for 2 o'clock. So we would be standing by to bring you continuously throughout that period there what are some of the things that are going to come out. I rather suspect that immediately when the decision is made by GECOM chair with regards to the declarations, based on the report, there's going to be some statements that are going to come officially if we fall in the trend from what transpired yesterday. So it's all going to be happening very quickly, and if it is indeed a declaration has been made, because of the political climate and so on, we could see if Rwanda is right, an attempt to the courts, one, and two, maybe a quick swearing in. That's how I'm reading it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to be a packed day tomorrow.
Delon, your closing comments, sir.
Thanks for having me. I think that you made a good point just now that Guyana needs to win. And if that's our ultimate goal, that Guyana is first, and I keep stressing that I believe that Guyana is first and party politics is second, a distant second. You have to love your country more than anything else. And there is going to come a time when I think that more people are going to start realizing that our party loyalty, our tribal support, either way, it is not helping Guyana. We have to work together for a better Guyana.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Delon. Josh, what's your closing words as we wait this big day tomorrow, sir?
Well, in the essence of it, I'm all about youths. Mm-hmm. So I want the youths of Guyana to refrain from posting anything of violence, inciting racism, inciting any sort of nonsense that we'd hear from time to time. The youth especially, you guys are the leaders of tomorrow, and I want you guys to act that way. And for the past couple days, a national song has been with me. It has been in my head for those few days, and it's a simple one. Let us cooperate for Guyana, right? And permit me to just say a bit of lyrics, but it's saying let us resolve to fight together, see we do it right together. Can we do it? Yes, we can. Each man must do his bit with his comrade. Each man must do his bit for his land. Each man must resolve to help one another. Yes, can we do it? Yes, we can. And this part was really, really nice and really touched my part of me. And it said, learn to call his neighbor brother. That's what we need to do as Guyana to move forward. Call your neighbor brother. Look at them that way and hold hands and join hands and let us live by our motto. One people, one nation with a common destiny. Good night, Guyana.
Thank you, Dr. Josh Kanhai. Rhonda, final comments from you, ma'am.
You mentioned earlier about that young lady that, that video appeared, and she issued a very sincere apology this afternoon after some interactions with multiple persons. But I think the number one question I've been asked throughout this entire campaign is, how do I remain so calm in the face of provocation? And I think it's probably something, it works for me, I can't speak for anybody else, is that I contemplate my reaction before I actually have my reaction. If it is something that I know it's going to raise my anger, and there are many, many things that people have absolute rights to be angry about. However, I always consider the other person. And I think the issue here is that we've stopped considering the other person, the other brother, the other Guyanese. And I know, as fresh politicians, as young people, and I'm not so young to begin with, but, I'll take the compliment. We have got to reach to a place where we consider the other person a brother. I've had multiple discussions with persons who don't agree with my politics. I don't agree with theirs. And I've never one day debased them for it. And that was a conscious choice. I struggle with understanding why they think the way they do or they operate the way they do in terms of how they do politics or anything else. But it is not my place to dictate to them. And therefore, I can't judge them. So the position we find ourselves in right now, I think everybody pause. Think about what you're going to say, how you're going to react to it. Is it going to benefit you? Is it going to benefit the other person? Where you are justified, seek the measures that don't, cause you to call somebody a name that or react in such a way that you're going to regret it instantly. And in the cases of extreme provocation, and I've seen some comments just today alone on social media that, I die a little bit more inside every single time. So for me, it's take a step back. Is what you're about to say worth it? If it is, then by all means, blaze through. If it is not, just take a moment and literally think about what your actions are going to cause and what your words are going to cause. And I would urge every single Guyanese, this is our country. We cannot leave our country to be run by people we do not police. And I don't mean, big sticks and guns and those kinds of things. It is our society. It is what we want. TCI has always been about citizen partisan participation. And this election, this season has shown us what ordinary Guyanese like Josh and Delon and all of, especially all the new party members, can do. We can take on a system and try to make it better. So those are my final thoughts for Guyana. Thank you for having us as usual. TCI is here to stay, as I'm sure TNM is. And we are going to try, we are not going to try, we are going to do right by Guyana. It is time we do right by Guyana, as Delon said.
Thank you. So Dr. Josh Kanhai, Mr. Delon, Moffett, and Miss Rhonda-Ann Lamb, thank you. Thank you so much for joining us tonight in room 592. We look forward to future conversations with you because in the future we want to discuss mainstream matters of Guyana, tourism, health. We want to compartmentalize things in Guyana and have discussions with various persons and them. So we look forward to that. Ladies and gentlemen, it's been good having you again in room 592 here on Kaiju Radio, and we certainly look forward to an eventful day tomorrow. And we invite you to join Mr. Gildarie and yours truly on Elections Watch, COVID-19 Watch at 1:30 tomorrow afternoon, when we're also going to have a quick look at the economy and the hole that is in by Mr. Joel Bagwandin at 1:15, approximately 1:15 tomorrow. 1:30 tomorrow. So please, ladies and gentlemen, you are welcome to join us. And tomorrow night, of course, we are going to hopefully bring a wrap to Elections 2020 in room 592. I'm saying hopefully, and I really mean hopefully, bring a wrap to Elections 2020 in room 592. It's been good to have you in room 592 tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Do have a great night. And remember, say a prayer for this lovely country of ours. It is the best place on God-given earth. God bless you all. God bless Guyana. Goodbye now.
Thank you.